Today I'll be testing the sound quality of an XLR condenser microphone to a 3.5mm plug-in power lavalier microphone to help you better decide on which one is right for you. Will this cheaper, more versatile RODE Lavalier GO have good enough sound quality to compete with the much richer sounding but more expensive and less versatile RODE NT1 condenser microphone? Hello everyone and welcome back. Similar to my other microphone comparison videos, I will be recording in my acoustically treated space, an untreated office with bare walls but a carpet floor, as well as my basement where I only have vapor barrier up and concrete floors. This should help you decide which microphone sounds better in a particular room that you have access to. If you've watched those other mic tests, I want to apologize for the repetitiveness of the content itself, as I will be for the most part saying the same things about the microphones. But I hope this isn't a huge deal because I think we are both here to just test out and see how each microphone sounds, and it doesn't really matter what I'm saying. So I will be discussing the specs of each, the pros and cons, as well as what situations one microphone is more optimal over the other. As the video progresses, I will indicate below which microphone you are listening to at that moment, and I'll switch back and forth frequently. If you really want to accurately hear the difference, I suggest grabbing a pair of headphones. I have both microphones plugged into my Zoom H6, and the only thing I'm going to do is change the gain so I'm getting roughly the same audio levels. I will not be editing the sound in any other way. For these tests, I will have the microphone positioned in a way that I think they normally would be used. That is, the lavalier is pinned to my collar, and I have the RODE NT1 positioned near my mouth. Although I would say a condenser microphone is often used this way, I want to see how the NT1 would sound if I use it like a boom mic and have it farther from my face and just out of frame. In each of the acoustic spaces, I will start with it like this, and then I'll move it an arm's length away but still keep it in frame. RODE Lavalier GO. This microphone is a lavalier microphone and it has an omnidirectional polar pattern. This pattern picks up sound in all directions around the microphone evenly. This is great for having it set up the way I do now, having it clipped to the collar, which gives a lot more freedom to move around in the frame while still picking up great audio no matter where you walk. Of course, to do this, you would need to pair it with a transmitter, which depending on the model, it might come with. In this case, it could be paired with the RODE Wireless Go, another great audio tool. Unlike the RODE NT1, it has a TRS jack, which will only work with microphone-specific plugins like the one on a camera, or plug-in power inputs like on my Zoom H6. It will not work plugged into a cell phone or tablet or computer. However, RODE does make a lavalier mic, which is called the Smart Lav Plus, which is basically the same microphone but with a TRRS input that will work with those devices, but now won't work with your camera. There's definitely a minimal amount of features on this microphone to talk about. There's no way to control the gain on the microphone, and it has no extra features or buttons to control the sound. It's pretty bare bones, which is standard for these types of mics unless the package you buy comes with its own transmitter, which may have options built into it. The technical specs are that it has a recording range between 20 Hz to 20,000 Hz, which is the frequency range that humans can hear. It has an impedance of 3K, a dynamic range of 83 decibels, and a self-noise of 67 decibels. The build quality is on the more fragile side. It's obviously very small, which is actually what you want to keep it as inconspicuous as possible, but the wire itself is very thin. A light pinch with your fingernail will leave a permanent indent, and one too many yanks will very likely disconnect the wires over time. Hey, quick 9 seconds of your time. I just want to let you know that I respond to every single comment, so leave any questions you may have down below. If you feel like hitting that like button while you're down there, that would be awesome too. RODE NT1. This microphone is an XLR condenser microphone and is probably the most professional mic I own. It has a cardioid polar pattern which picks up the cleanest audio right in front of it. The closer you are to the microphone, the more body and bass your audio will have. The farther you are from the mic, the less direct sound it will pick up, and the more reflected sound will be recorded by the mic. The acoustic treatment in my other room does a really good job at keeping echo down, so the sound quality shouldn't have dropped too much when I moved the microphone away. But I think it will be a little more obvious in this untreated office and in my basement. This is the type of mic that you would likely use in controlled audio spaces for recording music, podcasts, voiceovers, and vocals. It uses an XLR input that needs to be plugged into an audio interface, a mixer, a camera XLR adapter, or a field recorder that can supply 24 or 48 volts of phantom power. Without the power, the microphone will not work correctly. The mic itself also doesn't have a lot of onboard buttons or features like the lav mic. There's no gain control or other buttons. However, given that it needs to be connected to some kind of device that supplies a phantom power, there will be a lot more functionality on that device depending on what it is. For instance, my mixer will let me change the volume, gain, compression, EQ, and panning. The combo I got came with this Rycote shock mount and a double layer pop filter to keep plosives to a minimum. The shock mount does a really good job of absorbing vibrations from the movement of the mic that would normally be recorded if it didn't have a shock mount. Moving on to the more technical specs, the microphone has a very low self-noise of only 4 decibels, which is extremely low, several times quieter than the RODE Lav Go. It has a recording range of 20 to 20,000 Hz, a sensitivity of -29 decibels, and an impedance of 100 ohms. The build quality on the RODE NT1 is very good. It just feels very professional and has a good weight to it, primarily consisting of metal. So what are the pros and cons of each mic? Well, truthfully, they differ in almost every single possible sense. The RODE Lav Go is a plug-in power device that can be used for recording such as this, but is also a lot more mobile and can be used outside or on location. The RODE NT1, on the other hand, is a much more stationary mic, needing phantom power and an interface, and is meant for recording much higher quality audio at the expense of versatility and mobility. Positives for a condenser mic and the RODE NT1 really come down to the sound quality. Overall, they will just sound better than lav mics in probably every situation. If the main goal is to record the highest quality audio in controlled environments, the condenser microphone or a dynamic mic will be the best choice. Lastly, it has several times less self-noise than the RODE Lav Go, only 4 decibels versus 47. Negatives for condenser microphones and the RODE NT1 specifically are how much less versatile it is. It needs phantom power and it needs to be plugged into an interface. You can't use it with a wireless transmitter, and it can't be pinned to your collar, and you can't just move around freely in the frame. It also takes a little bit more time to set up. Before I moved to a dedicated audio recorder, it definitely slowed down my workflow, needing to set up my mixer, plugging it into my computer, turning on Logic, and making sure everything is turned on in the correct order. All the volume and gain levels need to be set to 0 before turning phantom power on, and it usually takes a few moments for power to start working. Then it's a good idea to do everything in reverse when you're done using the mic. Turn all the levels back down to 0, and then turn off phantom power before unplugging it. There are some mixed reviews about what happens when you unplug a condenser mic while you still have its levels up and phantom power on, but if there's any chance of it damaging the microphone, I'd rather not do it. Now, a big negative for me personally, one of the reasons I haven't used this mic very much in my videos is that it's too sensitive of a microphone. I don't seem to see very many people having this issue on YouTube, so maybe it's just me, but this microphone picks up a lot of mouth noise. Another negative is the price of the NT1. It's quite a bit more expensive than the Lav Go, especially when you factor in needing to also buy an interface. Finally, it's the sad little carrying case the NT1 comes with. As it won't be moving around much, it's not the biggest deal, but it would have been nice for it to come with a hard case. Now for lavalier microphones. This pro is something I already mentioned, but it's just how portable you can be. You don't have to stand right in front of the camera to make sure you're capturing great audio. You can walk around in the frame and you are good to go. Given how close lav mics are positioned to the sound source, as you've heard throughout the video, there's quite a bit less echo that is picked up in untreated spaces. A specific pro for the RODE Lavalier GO is there's a separating bar from the microphone to the clip. This makes sure that the microphone itself is positioned away from the shirt so you don't ruin your audio if something is rubbing against it. I'm actually surprised that this isn't a standard feature in all lavalier microphones. Negatives for lav mics are, as I already mentioned, the quality just isn't quite as good as condenser mics. This by no means is a cheap lav mic, but I think you would agree that in every room the RODE NT1 sounded better both when it was close and far away. Also, they don't perform very well outside because of their polar pattern. It picks up sound in all directions and wind gets picked up very easily. Negatives specific to the RODE Lavalier GO would be its fragile build. The wire is just so thin that you could probably rip it in two easily with very little force. So those are the differences between lavalier and condenser microphones. I did similar tests comparing the RODE NT1 to a shotgun mic that you can watch right here, as well as comparing the RODE Lavalier GO to that same shotgun mic that you can watch here. Lastly, YouTube's algorithm thinks you will enjoy this video the most. Be sure to hit that like button if you enjoyed or got any value out of this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.